Well, good afternoon, and if it's Thursday and somewhere around 2 o'clock in Los Angeles, it is time for the Raymond Hall Show. We are excited this evening. We have a studio with two acclaimed people. To my left, we have Cleo King.
Hello.
And she is both an actress and an activist. And I'm going to tell my age because some of the things that she talked about I had not seen, but I have seen Dreamgirls.
Oh, good.
So she's going to tell us all the things she's involved in.
Okay.
And the person who made all of this happen is Dr. Randolph. And I met Dr. Randolph, and she told me about the project that they are involved in. And we're going to be talking today about healing and revealing in murders of black men now. Not soon, not let's talk about it, but right now. Now, before you hit that dial or move wherever you move, you may think that this doesn't affect your community. We're talking to America. This is what this nation is about. If you take any cloth and remove enough fibers, that cloth is going to fall apart because each cloth is made out of fibers. Well, we are the fibers of the nation, and the cloth, we are what make up that cloth. So anything that happens in one community either strengthens or weakens the cloth itself. So whenever anybody can be threatened and murdered in one community, then they can be threatened and murdered in all communities. It's just a different way that we'll look at it. So we're here this evening. We want to thank Dr. Randolph for coming into the studio, and we want to thank Cleo King with Open Mic.
Yeah.
I was very impressed when I saw the president, the former president, and Michelle Obama.
Yes.
On your webpage.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you know, I did get a chance to speak at the White House when President Obama was in office, and it was all on adoption because I've adopted. So I was very grateful to be able to go to the White House, and what an inspiration that family has been to me, President Obama, and thank God that. Dr. Shari brought up this when we just met at Cleo King's open mic. We had no idea that we would end up working together. We had a mutual friend. We met. I wanted her to hear a song that this guy had written and that sang, and he sang this song, and it's called "Let Him Run."
Yes, she just it's going to be cued today.
Oh, good.
And we're going to hear parts of it at one time and then parts of it at another time.
Well, once I shared that with her, then we stayed in touch, and we knew we wanted to work together, but we didn't know how.
Okay.
But we stayed in touch. Okay. And then when the time was right, it was revealed to us, and that's what we're grateful for. That's how we got to healing and revealing, a celebration of life. And when we say end murders of black men now. And we tossed around so many ideas. We even tossed around end murders in 2020. It's like, well, no, you don't get permission to kill until 20.
Thank you.
We just don't. So this is where we ended. But for us, it's only a beginning because we want to talk about what can we do to save lives. Right. That's all we're doing here. We're not doing anything else. Now, in the meantime, we're going to feed people, give them something to drink. We're going to have a little spoken word, maybe a little bit of poetry, but we're going to have people speaking from experience. I'm a distant cousin of Mike Brown from St. Louis, Missouri. I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri. All my family is there. And when he was killed and gunned down, I did a program there in St. Louis, and I donated all of the money to his mom. Because at the time the Trayvon Martin thing was happening, and we heard of all the money that people were sending to George Zimmerman, and I thought, I bet nobody sent Mike Brown's mom, Leslie, any money. I bet they hadn't. Right. So when I did the program, I said, what we're going to do is donate a portion. But what I ended up doing was giving all of it to her. Right. And I was grateful. And for me, that was a beginning. Right. This is another step. And I think we can all come together and think, what can we do in our communities to save lives? Is it go to a single parent home and give time to that child once a month? Do you do that to help out? Do you then do your jury duty so that you can be present and your vote can count on a jury? Right. What do you do in order to not just if you're pulled over, we're not going to be crazy, what else can we do in our communities to save lives?
Well, that's what the Raymond Hall Show is all about. I mean, the Raymond Hall Show is is all about service. I am so impressed with Dr. Randolph, I don't know what to do. I recently met her myself, and she said something. I've been a lot of places in this world. I've been a lot of places and been a part of a lot of things. But she said something that I had never heard before, and it just resonated with me when you said it. She said 100% of the money is available in the community 100% of the time.
Yes.
I may be messing this up now.
But that's what was said.
Yeah, but we just don't have, I'll let you finish it because I don't want to mess it up. But
Well, a lot of people say the solution to the problem is money, that the community lacks money and the community doesn't. I talked to a friend that started babysitting in Mississippi and her salary was 28.5 cents. And I quoted what her mother said in that same meeting that you were at. Her mother would say, save money and money will save you. When she left after high school, after babysitting for 28.5 cents per minute, per hour, she had saved $200 to put in the bank. She moved to Los Angeles with $500 because her mother taught her how to save. But the money comes from someplace. People come across the border because we have free public schools.
Right.
So every day the ADA funds for daily attendance, they are on us. When we were born, we had ADA funds.
Right.
And this is America. America is a capitalistic country, so we always have money. Money is being made every day. There are funds available for everything that you want to do every day. Sometimes if you look at television late night, you'll hear people say, oh, you can get a government grant to buy a house, to open a business.
They're talking about money.
Right.
Yeah,
So the money is available, and somehow we have to shift our minds to think about what we say we need and then go out and get it. But we are the people we're looking for. And President Obama used to quote that quote, that if you're looking for something, you are the person you're looking for.
Okay.
Now there are different strategies on how you find out how that works. But your story, even it's like something told you, oh, I know better than being at this hospital. I'm going to go to another hospital and save my life.
That's correct.
Because you had that information inside of you.
Right.
It wasn't outside of you. So that's what I'm saying. We have that. If we listen to that voice, then and we can know about the still small voice. And some people have trained themselves how to hear it, and some people have not. But you could hear that voice, and you got up and moved, and you saved your life.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you this. As you can see, we are having a dynamic conversation this evening. The Raymond Hall Show, a different conversation with Dr. Randolph and Cleo King. Cleo King, I'm sorry. We're having a different conversation because they are making a difference. Their service is making a difference. It's when you look at it, you want to make sure that you get your pen, pencil, tablet, and wherever they say they're going to be, make sure you're there because they are a wealth of information. We haven't even gotten to the event which brought us all together. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about just how they are proposing we get this done. I'm excited about it because, every life is important. Absolutely. Every life on this planet is important. I said something and people laughed at me because when I thought it through, I thought, well, I better make sure I change the locks on my doors. Because people talk about getting rid of the guns and the murders, but I just thought, you could get rid of bombs, bullets, and delivery systems of mass destruction. And then I thought about it. I said, well, now, wait a minute. That means that you're going to get rid of Northrop Grumman with the mass planes, and I'm a Vietnam era vet, so all of that madness. If you've got international madness going on, madness is going to show up at your door.
Of course it is.
If you teach kids to kill somebody because the color of their skin across the way, then somebody is going to kill somebody because of their skin that's in the way. It doesn't know any side of the street to stop at. So I make sure you get all of your pens and pencils because we're going to ask them for contact information frequently. We are going to stop and we're going to enjoy some of this music that, now tell us about this song we're going to hear.
This song is by Patrick Outlaw, and
Okay.
you can also go to YouTube and hear this song as well. It's called Let Him Run by Patrick Outlaw, and he came into Cleo King's open mic one night, and he sang this song. And this was a person, his friend was hosting that night, and she invited him to come out. And he came out, and he happened to have his guitar, and everybody said to him, well, are you performing? Did you put your name down? He said, no, I'm just here. He didn't want to leave his guitar on his bike. He rode his motorcycle. And they said, but you have a guitar. Why aren't you performing? He said, no, I'm just here to support my friend. And finally she said, well, you've got to come up. You've got your guitar. Everybody is asking me about you. I don't know why. And he said, well, I'm going to sing a song I wrote a long time ago. I don't like singing the song, but it's very special to me. And I'm going to do this song called Let Him Run. And it's all about a song about, you know, if this guy looked like your son, would you shoot him down? You're not the judge. You're not the jury. Don't kill him. Don't let him run. You know, after 400 years, just let him run.
Yeah.
You know? So that's what we're coming up on right now.
Okay. So let's hear a little bit of Let Him Run. And when we get back, we're going to get into why we're here.
Awesome. Okay. Coming to the stage for the first time at Cleo King's open mic, Mr. Patrick Outlaw.
I didn't want to write this song, but the story wouldn't leave me alone. There was no press, there was no TV when our son was shot down by the LAPD. I listened to his mother cry as she told the story how her son had died. They wouldn't even let her in to the room as he laid and bled. Another gone on a trumped up charge. Seems like it only happens if your skin is dark. I'm not saying that he was no saint, but all have sinned and made mistakes. I'm sick and tired of the same old song. Well, he was reaching for a gun. Lied again, no gun was found. His back was turned when you shot him down. Think before you shoot your gun. You ain't the jury and you ain't no judge. Think before you shoot your gun. If he's just a running, then let him run. Think before you shoot your gun. You wouldn't kill him if he looked like your son. 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 If he looked like your officer, please, not today. Don't draw your gun, blow me away. Just 'cause I'm running away from you don't mean that I'm a threat to you. If you're not a threat, then why'd you run? Ran 'cause I saw you was drawing your gun. Seen other brothers shot in cuffs. I was hoping that today I could trust that you'd hold up. Wait a minute, hold up, he might be innocent. Officer, you look familiar. Yeah, you're Bobby Young's father. We were friends in junior high school. I even came to your house a few times for dinner. Officer, I can't feel my legs. Officer, my body's getting cold. I got a cell phone in my hand. Call my mother. Tell her the shape I'm in.
That is mighty impactful.
Before you shoot your
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And that's going to take us directly into the reason for this show, Healing and Revealing America's Invisible Crisis, the end of murders of black men now. That video and song focused on just one aspect of the murders. If we, unfortunately, we hear that's in Southern California as well as other communities of high crime, South Chicago.
And we plan to talk about all of it on Saturday. This is one aspect, but we also are going to talk about us killing us.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about part of that here today, too.
Yes.
Because we're not going to just
Glaze over it.
Glaze over
Yeah,
it.
we're not doing it.
I have to say this. I have to say that I know a number of law enforcement officials that are both local all the way up to federal, and these people are the most equitable and committed people I know.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have a problem? Absolutely.
Of course we do, which is why we're addressing it, but we have several problems. It's not in one area, and that's why we are working with Mothers in Charge. These are
Right.
women who have lost their children to violence. See, when we lose black men to violence, it doesn't matter which way the violence came from. What matters is that we end it and that we look at it and that we know it's a crisis here in America that
Right.
nobody's really addressing. Everybody's okay with it. When you can kill a black man and you get no time in prison, and everybody's okay with it. You can hear the woman on the 911 call say, don't follow him. We have someone. We're sending someone out, but don't follow him. And George Zimmerman continues, and she says to him again, don't pursue him. We have someone coming to the scene. And he does, and he kills this child.
Well,
that's a big deal because...
It's a big deal. It's a big deal. And one of the things that, I'm a child of the 50s, born and raised in the South.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're seeing is we're seeing things play out. We're seeing things play out in a different way and in today's time. We've got to change some laws.
That's for sure.
What we've got to do is we've got to, and this is just one of the things that I'm suggesting, we've got to take some of these things that says, you've got to use your imagination. Okay, you want to argue this thing about you have a right to have a gun, but you ain't got a right to have a bullet.
Right.
Exactly.
And to kill.
Make a bullet.
A
bullet $1 million a piece, and if you get caught with a bullet, it's a federal crime and it's 10 years. You got to get you
when
smart
those
with
laws
it.
were made, they weren't
you
even
gotta get
automated weapons. And I agree with what Cleo said. It's a multi-layered problem.
Yes.
But there is a way to solve multi-layered problems. And that's why we wanted to have this conversation on healing and revealing, because we need answers from every walk of life, from all aspects of the community. And people can post that day. I'm going to collect data that just to find out, what do you think the solution is? And we'll find out what people think the top solutions are. I want to work with other doctors and other scholars so we find out what people are saying the solution is. And I would go on to say that there is learned behavior. And there's a curriculum that is taught. And there are things that are left out that people have wrong information, but it was taught to them. However they got the wrong information, they have information that it's open season to kill, and you can kill black men, you can kill black girls. Hannah Bell just got killed at 78th and Western.
Right.
And just someone walked up and shot her.
Right.
That's not acceptable to me.
Right.
We were out doing the rally, so if you saw the flyers being passed to ask people to speak up, if you saw something, say something.
Yes.
If you
That's
saw
where I was
something,
going to
say
head,
something.
because
One
it's
of the
not okay to kill our people.
Is where
It's
are the
speaking
guns
up.
coming from?
Yeah.
That's one of the conversations.
But
where
what-
are the guns coming
but what
from?
even-
Who's profiting from these guns?
Right.
Another conversation that absolutely must be held is we've got to look at the hands that are not on the table. There's some things that people aren't considering. You know, if you are, and I say this respectfully, I'm a veteran, but they've separated the record now, the mental health and physical health, because a lot of the people that's joining the armed forces are first responders. So if you have a diagnosed mental health and that become known, you can't come back to being a peace officer because you can't put that pistol on your hip. So you can't get to the record. They come back, pick up where they left off as peace officers, but now they got this mental thing going on. And where are the places that they most often might place those people? I'm just asking a question.
Yeah.
Are they being placed in our community?
Well,
are they having traumatic events in service to the nation, that the nation is not being truthful and allowing this madness to be perpetrated in our community? It's so many things that people don't know about and think about that are invisible, but it has a bearing on the subject matter. Nobody else in this country can be murdered like this, and it wouldn't be at the top of everybody's list.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay, you would be having conversations in Beverly Hills. You would be having conversations in Encino. You would have the Department of Justice. I'm all for privacy and first rights and everything else. But how is it that somebody can get murdered like that young lady at a burger stand
with her mom?
And you're telling me you can't find the person that did it? Every inch of that community should be wired with cameras. I'm not saying look into people's bedrooms. I'm saying, but you know you have the ability to look down a street. So how are you going to tell me you spend millions and billions of dollars for security and surveillance, and you cannot identify somebody walking down up a street and murder someone?
Right.
Well,
it's hands on the table that we just don't see.
You said so many things that are important.
Yes.
You said the background of the officers.
Yes.
I spoke with someone from South LA, and she said when she was a child, she knew the police officers.
That's true.
And she would say, Mr. Hall.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how are you doing today, officer? And you knew her name. Mm-hmm. Hello, Katisha. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't this open season. Mm-hmm. Now we know a lot of the officers do not live in the communities, and
Correct.
They don't know the names of the young men and the young women that live there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one aspect. So
Mm-hmm.
how do we get people to grow up and be officers? A sheriff that we recently spoke with, he said that's what he wanted to do. He wants to go in the classrooms to encourage children to become peace officers in their communities. Mm-hmm. And we talk about community policing, and there are different types of agencies that could be engaged in community policing. Mm-hmm. But we need all of these solutions to the table. Okay. We need to discuss the things that you say people don't have knowledge of that. Mm-hmm. How people's records are shielded and they are able to get jobs that they should not qualify for. Right. If their record was known. Mm-hmm. We have to discuss that. We mm-hmm. have to write policy. You work for seniors on different senior policy. Other people have to get engaged.
Correct.
And I know recently Cleo was talking about even in the jury system, we'll have someone there on Saturday speaking about voting. Mm-hmm. Are you registered to vote? Mm-hmm. Do you use the ballot? Mm-hmm. We know Malcolm X said it's the ballot or the bullet. Right. And where are we now?
Right.
So we have to change. There are many paradigms that have to change, and mm-hmm. we have to shift those paradigms. But I would just like people to know that they have the power. Mm-hmm. And once you can change what you acknowledge. Right. So we're saying we're going to start by acknowledging all of this, all that you're talking about, all that Cleo is talking about, all that I'm talking about, and all that the guest speakers and the invited guests talk about. Mm-hmm. We're acknowledging this. Mm-hmm. This isn't something we're running away from. Mm-hmm. We're taking the veil off. Mm-hmm. So if it's an invisible crisis, we're saying it's a crisis. I was looking at a morning show last week, and they said 34 people from a college in Alabama, I believe, have rare eye cancer. It's an epidemic. 34 people. In another state, 18 people. And I said, wow. And if you see Dianne Feinstein's commercial after Sandy Hook, were 200 school shootings. 200.
Yeah,
now
I saw
we're
that.
talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of murders of black men. Lynching was something that was terrible for our community. And this is the same type of lynching. And people have to be able to feel it. People are inundated and they feel overwhelmed. But I'm saying if we take this just how people say you eat an elephant, one bite at a time, we break this apart piece by piece, but we're standing for saving lives. We're
Right.
working towards saving lives. And the First Lady of Southside Bethel Baptist, she hopes that she can come on Saturday. But if she is not there, the First Lady, Mrs. Howard, her nephew was gunned down with his best friend or one of his best friends in Moreno Valley. His funeral is Saturday.
Yeah.
And he's 19
that was one of the
years
things
old.
that we wanted to talk about here. We wanted to talk about who are the organizers of the event and who will be participating. So who all is going to be involved?
Well,
in the
we
event?
we organized it. Me and Dr. Shari Randolph. We organized it.
Okay.
Now Mothers in Charge have come along. So that's Cleo King's open mic. Dr. Shari, 1,000 praying grandmothers.
Okay.
And also Mothers in Charge. And these are women who have lost their children to violence.
The
And some of
1,000
it,
grandmothers.
the Mothers in Charge.
The mothers in charge. Okay.
The grandmothers are the 1,000 praying grandmothers. You always need some prayer
Oh,
around
yes.
you. And if you got 1,000 praying grandmothers, you know, even Beyonce says she's living right now on the prayers of her grandmother.
Right.
So if you got a praying grandmother, you got some support in your life. But just imagine 1,000 praying grandmothers. So that's who's doing this all together. We've come together, and it's simply about saving lives. We're not trying to blame anybody. We're not trying to tell on any. What we're saying is we want you to come forward when you see things in your community. We know things in the White House are not the way they should be. We know people will lie in the White House. But guess what? What are you doing to help your community? We were tired of sitting back doing nothing. This is the beginning. We don't even know where we're headed, but we know we're saving lives and we're about to begin to save lives. We're going to speak up about what's happening. We're going to start doing our jury duty. We are going to vote, whether we believe the vote counts or not. We're going to do that jury duty because guess who's going to jail?
Well, our guest last week was Mr. Shirley.
Yes.
And he, our whole show was about voting. I've been voting ever since I was old enough to vote, and I talk to people about the importance of voting because I'm not old enough to where I experienced the bubble test or any of those other things but I do remember people talking about them. One of the ways that we have gotten to the point where we are today is because of the lack of people voting. I have a problem sometimes with this middle class thing. And I get people to laugh behind it when I tell them.
Okay.
They said they got the upper class, the rich class, the middle class. Well, just count me with the low class. Because you never hear people they talk about the middle class. Well, the middle of what? If it's the middle of what? So you don't want to talk about the low class?
Not in America.
Not in America, but a whole lot of America is in the lower class. So when we start talking about these classes, it's the classes who suffer the greater injuries.
Right.
You know?
We have to get rid of the guns. We have to get rid of the guns.
That's where...
And we have to know, okay, we've pride ourselves on getting out of jury duty. That's been a good thing that we've been doing for years. But guess who needs your vote? Somebody needs an honest person to come in there and say, yeah, it doesn't matter what you did prior to this. What we're looking at is this evidence, and we're going to make an honest decision. We're going to decide here, and we need your vote from this community, that community, and that community. Because guess who's going to do jury duty? Not us.
Well, that's one
Not
of the
us.
components that we need to talk about.
It
We need
is.
to have our young people.
It is.
One of the things that we were faced with this show is it was a constant pull. Mr. Hall, I thank God I'm 66. Mr. Hall, you're talking to seniors and you're talking to veterans, and that's one segment. We need to talk to the young people, and your show is not going to go anywhere unless you talk to the young people. Well, we want to be inclusive of everyone.
Yes.
What we're trying to say to young people is that you're standing on a foundation of service. You're standing on a foundation of service that others have built that foundation. Now you've been assigned a time and an assignment where you are going to have to give service. And your service, is requiring a different thing. It looks like that we have a caller online, and so you're going to have to put your mics on so we can hear what the caller is, who the caller is. Good afternoon. You're on the Raymond Hall Show.
Hi, Raymond. You know what this is. This is your old favorite.
Hey, Mr. Anthony, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. I just wanted to weigh in, and I think what y'all are talking about is as multi-layered as she indicated. And historically speaking, and as you know, we both came from the same place in the same era. And I want to vet myself with the guest there prior to us talking now. I'm from Memphis, and I came from that era that Raymond came from. And I want to put a few things out there for you guys. And I've been here in Los Angeles since 1973 after leaving Memphis and the death of Martin Luther King after marching with Martin. And we came from that era where segregation, I think if you all would talk about how it was different with segregation, I seem to think, and I came up in segregation, as did Raymond, we were more unified as a people. And you could elaborate on that and go historically speaking. But I found that you always can follow the dollar, socioeconomically. Talk about prisons for profit. Talk about things that are relevant in terms of the nuclear family. When I went to college, I do have a sociology degree. I can recall my professor telling us about the welfare meccas in this country, and where people from the South would migrate to New York, and they would migrate to the West Coast in order to be into the welfare system. And what this did was disenfranchise the males from the family, because obviously the rules.
Right.
The mother had to do not have a male in the family. Fast forward, so you found that we were marginalized that way. And when you kill one black male, you kill a whole generation. Okay, and when you document males, once they document, it's hard for them to assimilate and get into the stream of the working class. All those things have culminated over years. Okay, let's talk about gangs. The gangs, and when a young lady got killed, 78th and Western, some of this has become initiation ritual for gangs. I remember before the riots, I talked to my friend, we had a business at 88th and Western, the whole corner there. I talked about how they were documenting black males, and they were being pulled over and just documented because they were black males. In my opinion. And then they began to sensationalize gangs. When you turned on the news, there was a gang this, there was a gang that. And as you all know, in terms of the ratio of the population itself, we may be 12% of this whole country. And so how are we a threat? I don't know. But a lot of it has to do with racism.
Right.
And let's be real about it. All the institutions that we have here in this country, you follow the dollar.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not taking care of our veterans the way they should be taken care of. I know friends that came back from Vietnam, and they were treated and disenfranchised.
Right.
You all know that.
Yeah.
So many things, being a black male.
Well, let's let Mr. Anthony. Let's let our panelists comment on some of those things.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you this. I want to thank you for being a very good friend and a very good supporter of the Raymond Hall show. And I want to thank you for bringing all of those things to the attention and just keeping your ear down to contribute to the show. We thank you, and I'll talk to you later, my friend. So let's get some dialogue on that.
I would love to talk about some of this. I agree with him. That, back in the day when it was segregation, we thought it was good to be integrated, and we thought it would bring us more equal across the board. Mm-hmm. And I think it was very smart at the time.
Right.
But I think change is a wonderful thing.
Right.
Because at that time, that was wonderful that we were good to stop segregation.
That's
because
true.
then you got education the same as the other students. That's very important. We're in a different place now. Mm-hmm. We don't need them to educate us. We can do that ourselves. Mm-hmm. And when he talked about the racism, when that starts at the head of your country and you make it okay, I'd like to say, I've worked for the past 2 years in Vancouver doing a TV show called Lemony Snicket's, a series of unfortunate events. It's a TV show on Netflix, and I've done that for 2 years in Vancouver, Canada.
Now, is that something that they can, I'm going to kind of plug it here, is that something that people can look at today?
We have 2 seasons on Netflix. It's on Netflix. 2 seasons on Netflix. The 3rd season is being done right now. You can go to Netflix and look at the 1st season, which is, I think, 12 or 13 episodes, and then you can look at season 2, which just came out maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago.
Okay.
And which I haven't even finished. All the young kids like to sit and binge watch everything. I'm too old to binge watch, so I kind of watch it once a week, like, normal shows. But what I can tell you, what he touched on, you said his name is Mr. Anthony.
Anthony,
What he touched on was racism. And this is what our country is built on. It's in the DNA of our country.
Okay.
Racism is okay here. Now, whether people admit it or not, it's in the DNA of our country.
Right.
We're built on it. It's been here since I've been here. It's been here since you've been here. And it ain't going nowhere.
It ain't going nowhere.
Now, people would like to say, well, don't you think it's better? It's still here. And as long as it's here, we're not done. Now, when I go to Canada, I can tell you, I don't feel racism. And when it happened to me, I was so blown away. First of all, on the plane, I went to pick up my suitcase and put it up. The gentleman popped up and he said, "Can I help you with that?" Now, I don't get that from anybody here. Now, I have before, yes, but not consistently like when I'm flying to Vancouver, Canada.
Right.
And the flight is only 2 hours and 15 minutes to Vancouver. Also, when I get to the hotel, I'm waiting on the elevator. A family walks up who looks nothing like me, just a white family. They say, "Good morning." I turned to look to see if there was somebody else because they acknowledged me. That doesn't happen in my country. If I'm waiting there and they walk up, they don't acknowledge me. Also, going down the hallway. I'm walking down the hall. Here comes a family. They're having a full-on conversation, a white family. Me by myself. As I pass them, each one of them speak to me. Good afternoon. How are you? Hello. Even the baby. Hi.
Yeah.
They're not built on racism like we are.
Here's what's very unfortunate. It's in the fabric, it's in the DNA. And I want everybody to be clear about something, because I don't want nobody coming up telling me we're going to sue you, like I really care. I got sick in 1994. I needed a heart transplant. I went in and out of the VA hospital, West LA, for 6 years. West LA, 6 years.
Wow.
We're going to give you a transplant. We're not going to give you a transplant. You're on the list for a transplant. You're not on. February of 2000, they gave me a letter that said you're too sick, too confused, and they sent me to hospice care and said that I had 90 days to live. Now, they wrote in my medical record that Mr. Hall is unrealistic. He doesn't want to face the reality that he's going to die soon. Now, I noticed something. You can call me Mr. Hall, and you can disrespect me to the point that you will give me a letter for me to go somewhere and lay down and die.
Yes.
From your mouth, you'll say Mr. Hall, and from your heart, of the intelligence you may or may not have, you'll send me to say, that's it, go away, die. Mm-hmm. Okay. What's my point? My point is, every experience you experience, every experience, doctor, that you experience, it makes us stronger. Mm-hmm. And it makes us stronger because we are faced with now a situation unlike any other situation that we as a people have ever been faced. We've got some serious questions to ask. Yes. Who is putting these guns here, and how do we hold them accountable? Yeah, the instruments change. Yeah. At one point, it was a boatload of cocaine, but you arresting the person with a pinhead. Mm-hmm. Yes. You can't find the boat, but you can give the man with the pinhead 15 years. Mm-hmm. Yes. You can't find the man with the arsenal, but you can say, we're looking for the man who pulled the trigger. You should be looking for both. We've got another caller, ladies and so let's see what this one is about. Good afternoon. This is Raymond Hall of the Raymond Hall Show. You're on the air.
Yeah, how you doing, Mr. Hall and guests? My name is Derek Williams, and it's been a great conversation to hear so far, and I'm bouncing off the wall with so much to say, so I'll try to keep it really short. I'm in a behavior modification business, and so one of the things I wanted to touch on, which was touched on earlier, is that it's systemic. Like, the racist is in the system. So under slavery, under Jim Crow laws, it's always been okay to kill blacks. At some point, we weren't even considered human beings, so that they could trade us as livestock. So for hundreds of years, over 400, 500 years, we've been taught systematically that it is okay. And that's why you can see all the time police, where we see videos that it's obvious that murder was committed, but yet they're let go. Mm-hmm. And so that programming is it's systemic, but it affects both sides, meaning that the police officers, while they may not necessarily be racist, but if they're enforcing a racist system, then you can't tell the difference. But then us who are being shot, we've come to say, well, that's just how it is around here. You know, that's just how it is. In May of 2016, there was a white officer in West Virginia who refused to shoot an armed black man. He was fired. He got backup. The backup officers killed the black man, and the officer who refused to fire, they fired him. You know. So a lot of that has to do with the racism that goes on that systemically, and we refuse to acknowledge that the system is racist. So if a house is built on something that of a foundation of racism, then you pull it out to the wall.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Derek, for your input, and we're going to give that a little dialogue, and we will talk to you next time. Thank you for calling in.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You know, the other thing about Vancouver that I wanted to say is that you don't even see very many black people walking the streets there. Mm-hmm. And here you see black people everywhere. When I go to work, I see one or two black people. Mm-hmm. That's it. Normally it's one or two, usually one actor and something, and that's it. Mm-hmm. When I go to Vancouver, there are 13 people on set that are black. Mm-hmm.
Working.
Mm-hmm. Now, if they can, when you don't even see the black people in the community, have 13 people working on a set of, say, 80 people, 80 to 100 people, and you got 13 here, why do we only have one? Yeah. Why do we have one? Yeah. It's everywhere. That's racism is everywhere in our country. That's why I'm saying, with my transplant, with your talents and what you see with the and you're a mathematical genius. I mean, the things that you said, I love numbers, and it's unfortunate that Mrs. Walker is not here. Mrs. Erica Flynn Walker is the co-host, because she does this financial literacy segment that we do, and it's important to us. But each and every one of our experiences is what dresses us or equips us for the work that we are called to do.
Yes.
And the Creator knows that I have put you in a time where you're going to see horrific things. Everybody talk about the Holocaust, but don't nobody want to talk about our cause.
Right. We have to talk about it, and that's why we're here.
So
And
this last 10 minutes of the show, I want us to kind of focus on this event. What's going to go on Saturday, May the 12th from 1 to 3?
Now, we're going to feed the people with a little drink and a little snack. So come on out and let's mingle first. From 12:30 to 1 o'clock, we're going to mingle. We're going to have a little light snack, little something to eat, something to drink. You know, when we get together, we want a little something on our stomach. But here's the work starting at 1 o'clock. We have a person who was a sheriff, confirmed. We have Secret Service confirmed to speak.
Okay.
We have a motivational speaker who has been studying. He comes from outside our community, but he said he was led. He said normally when people ask him to speak somewhere, he normally has to think about it and tell them what it cost. He said, but for some reason he was told yes, to say yes right away.
Okay.
We have him. We have a spoken word. We have singers. We have somebody from Mothers in Charge who's lost her son to violence, who she wants to talk about, can we speak up in our own communities? Can we reach back and help another child that's in a single-parent home? We have somebody from Praying Grandmothers who's going to speak. I am so excited about the Secret Service. The other thing that's going to happen here is, because I'm an actor and I've worked since 1988 as a professional actress, my first TV show was The Cosby Show. I've been doing this for a long time.
Okay.
So for me, I want to make this into a documentary. So we're going to tape on Saturday. So we're going to ask everybody for permission if they come out. Can we use your face or not? We can block it out. Some people may not want their face, but I want you to know I want to record this because it's time to do some work in our communities, and we can't look to other people to do the work. We have to step up and do the work. Yes. But we have some incredible speakers, and everything we're doing Saturday is about saving lives. We don't want another black man like Stephon Clark to be killed in his backyard.
Right.
And his grandmother right there, and this is where he is every night. And here they come into his backyard to kill him.
Right.
We don't want it to happen anymore.
Right.
We're done with it. So this is us taking a step forward and saying, okay, let's talk about it. Let's network with one another. What do you know that I don't know? What I found out this week, because I just finished, is jury duty is incredible. Yeah. Jury duty is like voting. We got to do it. It's time out for getting out of it. That's over. Step up to the plate, be of service to your community, and do your jury duty, because your vote matters and your vote counts. So many people think their vote doesn't count. It does count. Take the vote. Go do your jury duty.
So what would you say if a person from Encino says, I want to get involved? I want to help too.
We say, come.
I would say get involved.
Come.
And some of the police officers.
How would they get involved?
Come this Saturday.
Just join. This is coming Saturday.
Yes.
Is to say, I want to help end the murders of black men now.
Okay.
Just to stop to say, here's a way. If people want to read, we find out people that go to prison, the caller talked about systemic things. Many people that go to prison, they cannot read, write, and do arithmetic. If you know how to read and you know how to teach someone to read, you can read to children. And that's what her name is Paula Henderson Dix. She's the chapter head of the Los Angeles chapter of Mothers in Charge. If you have to show someone to read, if you have to babysit for someone, that the way in which we helped in segregation, the first caller talked about segregation, people helped. And they're in whatever your helps were. Some people are gifted with helps. They know what to do. They know how to hold a baby and keep the baby from crying. They know how to help someone across the street. We just are engaging ourselves to find.
So the bottom line, what I was trying to hear, and Dr. Randolph just said it, the problem doesn't stop in a black community. We've heard that this is a systemic problem. We've heard that this is a national tragedy. The problem is your problem, is my problem, is everybody's problem. So on Saturday, May the 12th, at 10400 South San Pedro, if you have a zeal, we have the information flyer up there now. If you have a zeal for justice, if you have an understanding for what is the equitable and the right thing to do, we're not here because someone said, well, I don't like that guy, so I'm going to vote for the slaves to be free. Nope. This was some people that took hurt and harmed themselves because they said, I'm going to do the equitable thing to do. So no matter what community you're in, if you have a zeal to make sure that the equitable thing to do, and that equitable thing is the strength of the nation. The strength of the nation is found in the service of our communities. These two persons here that are to my left and to my right, they are putting the work in. They're not standing on the sideline talking about it. They're not laying down dreaming about it. They're not going sitting in the church house and only wishing and praying about it. They're putting up, strapping up, gearing up like an old soldier does and say, we're going to get this job done, and we're going to get this job done now. That is the service of the nation, for that is her strength. So if you're in a community and you have an unction to see the right thing done, look at injustice and say, I know the name of that person. The name of that person, their name starts with justice is there for their protection too. That's what we've got to look at. We can't look at ourselves and see anything other than we are citizens of America and entitled to all of the liberties that this nation affords. And the nation affords us not to be shot. Come on out. Have a conversation with these ladies. Get an understanding of what you can do. We're not going to ask you to do something you can't do. We just want to talk to you about what you can do. You'd be surprised. If you do what you can do, couple that with other people who are willing to do what they can do, what they have pinned to this paper, in murders of black men now will be accomplished. Ms. King.
Yes, I'd love to say it's happening at Southside Bethel Baptist Church.
Okay.
So in Los Angeles, happening at Southside Bethel Baptist Church this Saturday, 12:30. We're going to go from 1 to 3.
Okay.
And we want you to come out and network with others. We didn't know when we met each other that something like this would grow, but when you get together, as my mother and grandmother used to say, on one accord, things are going to happen out of that. Nobody's paying us to do this. We're not making any money.
Okay.
We're tired of hearing that another one was killed and nobody says a word. You talk to your friends about it. We're all sitting at home mad. You talk to people who don't look like you and they said that is so unfortunate. But nobody's doing anything. But that's not us today. And we are standing together because we believe that we can make a difference, because we are not on our couches being mad, that we are stepping up, inviting people to be together. And the only thing we're doing is saving lives. That's what we're trying to do.
Dr. Randolph.
Yes. And
You
there's
said one other thing.
Okay.
I can't let you out of this studio without this.
Yes.
You talked about jobs.
Yes.
And you said that young people in school are supposed to have jobs.
Yes.
But you also said there's a point when a person reaches a certain level of academia, they shouldn't be looking for a job. But that's what America offers, a job.
Right.
Okay. Talk to us, because that too, in other words, if you give a person an education and they're able to create and generate millions of dollars worth of income, I guarantee you they'll never get arrested for selling $5 worth of crack.
Exactly.
That's what I was thinking about when you were speaking. So speak to us about that. You were talking about researchers and how researchers and jobs and researchers are different things. And this, too, is a part of that low-class deaf thing that I was talking about. See, you're expendable when you're in that low class.
Yes.
Yes.
You're not expendable when you are the primary investigator, the researcher?
That's it.
Okay.
The primary investigator. That's the word.
So share with us briefly that and how it connects with this.
If someone's 16 years old, that's what they want. They want to have a job. They want to have money to have independence.
Okay.
And it's like a 16-year-old now can be a barista at a coffee shop.
Right.
I've gone to school. He got my bachelor's, master's, 2 masters, and a doctorate degree. And people from my community usually say, "Oh, I want to get a job. I want to get a job." And that's the thing that was ringing in my ear. And I told my friend, a doctoral scholar can't say the same thing as the 16-year-old hoping to be a barista.
Okay.
Because then you're in that social economic background of a teenager.
Correct.
So we have to grow and develop. And so that racism that we talked about, that's what stunts the growth of the community.
Okay.
But we can go to school, and we know far back as Carter G. Woodson told us that there's a miseducation of the Negro, that many people would go to school or go to college and they would leave and go work for a corporation and not develop their parents' hamburger stand or their parents' auto shop,
right,
or the businesses that in segregation, one of the callers talking about, we had businesses, we had communities, but we thought, integration was better. But now in our own observation, that's an observational study.
Right.
We can look at our observation study and say that we have empirical evidence that was not all the end all.
Right.
So now we look at that, we analyze it, and now from me analyzing, I'm saying we have to do things differently.
Okay.
We have to look at things differently, and they'll change. That's why I want people to come and put their answer on the board so we can find the answers to these complex problems, because they're answers, but we're in the community and people know about it. People have been thinking about it. The callers called in, they've been thinking about it. So they have solutions that they're sitting at home. And I'm saying now we're bringing our solutions out into the community to help. But that thing is the difference between a person who can master the idea. You study something in undergraduate and then you master it and you become the expert of that. If you become a doctor, if you become a PhD, you are the person who is the principal investigator who immediately qualifies for those monies and grants to develop anything and everything. If these microphones were studied and they were developed so we can speak online and speak on the radio or wherever we want to speak at the same time, we had to have the microphones to listen to the caller because that system was studied by someone.
Right.
So the government funds those ideas and say, what do you want to look at? Do you want to look at microphones? Do you want to look at pills to cure cancer? Do you want to look at new eyeglasses? Those are all funded ideas. A principal investigator can go get it.
Wow.
There are other ways available to get money as well. But once we find out what we want to create, we are the creators to create the new thing. So we can create the solution. And healing and revealing, when we hear the stories, we are the creators.
Well,
so we
what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to continue this conversation because we are flat out of time. Okay. I am so honored to have both of you all here.
Thank you for having us.
I am sure that the whole world has been enlightened.
Wonderful.
We hope so. It's only the beginning.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes people don't know what they have, and sometimes racists don't know that they have racism. Okay?
They don't, and they can understand that.
You're invited to the event this Saturday, May the 12th, beginning from 1 to 3. It's going to be at 10400 South San Pedro in Los Angeles, 90003. We can't run out of here without thanking our sponsors. We want to thank Bishop Lonnie McNamee for sponsoring this show. We also want to thank I'mALuxury.com. It's coming up on Mother's Day, so you want to treat your mother really, really special. You want to go to I'm a Luxury and get you something there. We want to have a special Mother's Day commendation to our co-host, Mrs. Erica Walker Flynn. We hope that she returns soon. We want to thank all of the mothers out there, and our hats are off to all of you all who do the work in the community to make the community better for us. This is Raymond Hall with the Raymond Hall Show. I'm here with Dr. Randolph, and you got to tell us some more about this actress.
All right.
Your last 30 seconds, each of you get 30 seconds. So in 30 seconds, tell us about some of the parts that you played.
Oh, wow. This is awesome. I was in the movie Dreamgirls. I was in the movie National Security. I was in The Hangover.
Okay.
I was in the movie Pineapple Express. I've done all kind of TV shows.
Wow.
The Life of David Gale is a movie. TV shows. My TV show that, has really given me my claim to fame is Mike and Molly on CBS for 6 years, and we're in syndication, so it's on 5 days a week. I play the grandma on Mike and Molly, and I love what I do.
All right. And Doctor, what are you involved in?
Yes, well, I'm an adjunct with the Community College District at Southwest College. I'm looking to go back and teach there soon. And I just want to give a shout out to 1,000 Grandmothers Who Pray. Loretta Randall will be there, and she will pray that day. And Rachel Day, she will be talking about voting and getting out to vote. And we'll have some youth possibly from Community Build who participated in Washington, D.C. in the walk against gun violence. And they will give some poetry, and some people will give testimonies. Some of the young men that have experienced violence in the way of being shot, they haven't expressed that they want to come and share it, but I've asked them, but they are intrepid. People have intimidation in certain circles, and they want to find out what's going to happen.
Okay.
And we're going to be there to support everyone that comes, and I just want people to show up.
All right.
104th and San Pedro.
Okay. Well, we've got to get out of here. They love us, but they say you got to go. So we thank you for tuning in to the Raymond Hall Show. My name is Raymond Hall. May God continue to bless you. Remember the third Proverbs. The third Proverbs say, my son, and he's talking to both men and women. My son, I will bless you with length of days and long life. That means that we both have a part. We're going to live the length of days, and we're going to continue to work with this long life. Have some service in your life, because that service is going to be a benefit to others. The foundation that we stand on is the service of others. Now, we've got to add to that foundation. Yes, it's a challenge. Young men, young women being gunned down just to get a sandwich, they're gunned down. But it is us. Because remember, there's nothing bigger than our Creator. So we have been assigned in this time to address these issues. This is the Raymond Hall Show. Have a good evening, and we'll see you back here next week.